You're listening to the Black and Gold Hockey Podcast with Mark Allred, Court Lalonde, and Rob Tomlin. You can subscribe and rate our show on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Player.fm, SoundCloud.com, and Stitcher Radio. You can help the show financially by going to the blackandgoldhockeyblog.com website and clicking on either the Amazon.com or Fanatics.com banners to the right before shopping online. Now, time to start the Bruins hockey talk from 3 different countries. Enjoy the show.
Orr fights to keep it in. Does. Has it in the corner to Sanderson. Back in front to Orr. Shot. Scores! Bobby Orr!
Ray Bourque. Scores! Ray Bourque from the face-off circle to the right of Reggie Lemlin. Fired it down and Whitmore blew it.
Bounces down to Bergeron. He takes the space, pulling it wide to the right of Tatar. The snapshot over Mrazek. It's loose, and Bergeron scores! Patrice Bergeron!
Hey Bruins fans, welcome back to episode 85 of the Black and Gold Hockey Podcast in partnership with Grandstand Sports Network, the best view in sports. I get a decent show for you this week. Not a lot of topics to start off with, but definitely have to talk about last week's games. Two good wins on the road trip against Calgary on Monday, and then to follow up the game Tuesday night in Edmonton. That particular game was one that was the Bruins showed up within the last 5-6 minutes of the game, which was good to see them. You know, they knew that they were pretty much going to be losing this game, and then they all of a sudden just came out of nowhere and turned it around. So
and social media was like Game 7 in the playoffs. It was hilarious how many people were throwing things. I went to sleep. I woke up in the morning just reading it and like watching people fall off a cliff and saying it was the worst team in the world again. And I was going, I love them again. I was like, oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, it was
pretty bad. And then they had 3 days off and then they played the Toronto Maple Leafs last night, which I thought was a pretty right. I thought it was a pretty decent game, back and forth, a lot of hitting, but the scoring wasn't all there. But Toronto came, and all right, let's hear it. Go ahead. You were there. You were in the stands.
I was there. I was front row and center. One thing I will say, because everybody. I'll never say, because a lot of people after the game, they're like, oh, the Bruins didn't have legs. You know what? There was no room to move out there. Anytime someone had the puck, they'll either on them or the Bruins were on them. There was 2 lines that dominated. There was the Bergeron line that dominated the Kadri line, even though Kadri scored, but he scored on the power play. And then you have the Marner line. Dude, the Bruins couldn't answer them. That Mitch Marner, Nylander line, no one could stop them all night. Anytime they had the puck, they controlled it. I thought our penalty kill was abysmal, to say the least. The penalty on Char, it is what it is, but McAvoy's penalty, it seems, I love the kid. I think he's obviously the future. He conveniently takes a lot of bad penalties at a lot of bad times. Just gonna throw that one out there. I know he's the poster child for greatness, but man, he takes down penalties. And then we can get down into the goal. Should it have counted?
No.
I'll just say no. It shouldn't have.
Absolutely not.
Hockey Night in Canada, everybody says it, and then NHL's explanation was priceless. Pretty much, well, we just went with what the ref said.
Yeah, but that doesn't make any sense to me.
I know it doesn't.
A month and a half ago, they mentioned something. Now, a month and a half ago, that would have been a goal. By their rules. And then all of a sudden they go through this all-star break and they have this stupid general meeting, and then they revise the freaking rule saying that I don't exactly have the notes in front of me, but they made some kind of stupid change, which now that is a goal. And I just don't get it.
Well, they're saying, some people are saying, well, it's funny. All the guys on Hockey Night in Canada, the people that everybody thought were rah-rah Leaf fans, they all call it no goal. I've seen it all. Zach Hyman's quote after the game was hilarious. I don't know if you guys saw it. It was all over the Toronto news because the Leaf fans got mad at him because he admitted to pushing McAvoy into Tuukka Rask and thought it was hilarious that the goal was called.
Yeah.
He admits that he pushed. The quote was, I pushed McAvoy into him and went my way.
That's just like,
and they're saying that Tuukka Rask had enough time to get back up. Like, I watched the replay a million times and I'm like,
McAvoy sat on him. How do you have time to get back up? And McAvoy's a big guy. Like, it's not like it's a tiny guy.
It's hilarious. If Tuukka was what all the Tuukka haters call him and say he's not competitive and all that, he would have just wouldn't even have tried to get up. He would have had a little hissy fit and fallen down, and it would have been no goal. But because he tried to make the save, they're saying that he had enough time to get up. And what did you say, Rob? What did he say after the game?
Tuukka Rask said that when you come to Toronto as an away team, goals like that never get pulled back. And he is going to get fined big time. So that sucks that he's going to... Well, it doesn't suck that he's going to get fined. He gets paid enough money. But at the same time, for one of your players to get fined for saying something that's truthful is a bit crappy.
Yeah. I'm getting tired of going to Leaf games and losing. I had a lot of years of every time I went there, the Bruins would win. It's getting to suck to go to games in Toronto. But I will give it to all the Bruins fans that were there. There were a ton of Bruins fans.
I saw that last night. They were all in the crowds. And
yeah, I had people around my seats just asking, like, where do you guys all come from? I'm like, well, I come from Milton. I'm about a half an hour away. So
that's going to be such a kick in the nuts for some people. Like, you think you're coming from Boston or somewhere in the States or Buffalo or wherever, and you're a Bruins fan, and all of a sudden you're like, I live down the street.
Yeah, pretty much.
When you said something about the goal and being in Toronto, it kind of brings me back to. Do you remember when the Matthews goal was called back? I don't remember which game it was, but it was.
And then he scored later on, and he pointed at it like he scored.
Yeah, it was a very similar situation. That it was just it was guys were trying to create some space in front of the crease, and somebody hit the goaltender as Matthews shot the puck, and it got called back, and it was pretty much the same type of. I
thought that goal should have counted when Matthews scored.
I did too. Absolutely.
Because the difference on the Matthews was, and people can correct me if I'm wrong, and email Mark or email the webpage. It was a opposition team that pushed the Leaf player into the goalie, and that makes it totally different. Yet they called no goal when the only reason the Leaf player was in the crease is because, and I think it was JVR, that another team pushed him in. And this is different. This is a Leaf player, admittedly, pushing a Boston Bruin player on top of our goalie. That's what just drives me nuts.
Yeah, I mean...
I'll admit to people, I was walking out of the building when the goal went in because my wife and I were getting a babysitter for the first time in a really long time. And, we got out for a couple periods. It was great. But we were trying to beat the traffic to get home so my in-laws could get back because they're about an hour away. But I was listening to it on the radio, and all the radio broadcasters were, oh, this is one's going to get called back. And then they were like, oh, wow, it's a goal.
Next week's games start tonight at 5 o'clock against Buffalo at the Key Bank Center in Buffalo, New York. And the next home game and to end the 5-game road trip is in Boston on the 27th against the Carolina Hurricanes at 7 p.m. And I got to click over because we're at the end of the month. Thursday at 7 o'clock, they play the Pittsburgh Penguins at TD Garden. And I'm looking forward to that one because, every game's important, but when you play teams like Pittsburgh and so on, you're really getting yourself prepared for a playoff run, which obviously the Bruins are in right now. And then the end of the week on Saturday the 3rd, they play the Montreal Canadiens at 5 o'clock. Perfect timing.
Can I interrupt because we forgot to touch it? But it also just got announced. Patrice Bergeron walking around a little gingerly, but with no boot, doing his normal pregame on the bike. Good sign.
Oh, great sign.
So I did not see the play. I've looked for everything on the replays because I had the game taped. I'm trying to find this shot in the second period that he blocks that caused the whole thing because he was on the ice the whole time. So I was so confused when I heard he was in a walking boot.
Yeah, I did not see it at all. I did the same thing this morning at about 6 o'clock as I watched the game over and again, and I did not see any indication of him taking a shot in the foot. But regardless, as soon as you take that boot off, you guys know as hockey players, and many out there know as well, your foot can swell. Pain and swell. So, yeah. So, who knows? I mean, if he gets to play in today's game against Buffalo, that'd be great. If not, I mean, I'd give him a maintenance day against the Sabres because the Sabres are in the last place. And I understand that the Sabres team beat us last time, and it wasn't a pretty game either. But this is also a game that, I mean...
Yeah, we'll talk about it after.
It's a divisional game, I know.
Yeah, it is.
Evander Kane got scratched last night for Buffalo.
Is he scratched again today?
I'm guessing
I will look up.
so.
Yeah. I will look. Keep going.
Because they're obviously just trying to keep him healthy in case a trade comes up.
Right.
I know a lot of people have been saying as soon as someone's scratched, they're like, oh, he's traded.
Yeah, I love that.
A lot of the times it's not. They're just trying to keep the play. Like, if you get injured on a play during a game and then you like a team wants to trade for you during that game, you're screwed because they're not going to trade for an injured player. So Buffalo are just trying to keep that. Well, it's a guaranteed first-round pick for him. So, but I'm glad if he's scratched because he is a dangerous player. So, gives us an easier chance to win.
Anders Bjork last week was also mentioned that he will not be returning for the rest of the season with a shoulder, upper body injury, put it that way, but it's definitely the shoulder. I kind of want to think that this was dated back to the Matt Martin hit at center ice against the Maple Leafs in November. I think that's when he actually tweaked it a little bit, and then
he had 2 games off from that, didn't he?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm just happy. Did you guys see that hit Achari took last night? It was right in front of me. I was like, whoa. No concussion.
That was with a puck though, right?
No, he took a body check. He got nailed.
Who's the one that took the puck in the face?
That was Backus.
Oh.
That happened all in my end. It was really nice. Unfortunately, some bad things happened in my end, but good things happened.
But the Anders Bjork, it seemed to me that when they played the Anaheim Ducks at the end of January, and that Francois Beauchemin gave a little bit of liberties after the whistle, kind of was the one that got him out for the rest of the season. So he had successful surgery. Don't ask me what kind of surgery it was. But he will be out 6 months, so slated right now to return for training camp and the beginning of next season, which is good. I mean, I don't like injuries, especially to young players like him. He is an up-and-comer, but yeah, I think that the time was right for him to have this done and be ready for next season. So
he's had pretty much the same season Heinen had last year, if you've not noticed. Got called up for a while, went back down to Providence.
Yep.
Pretty sure Heinen got injured late last year as well. I'm not 100% on that, but I'm pretty sure he did.
I thought Heinen got injured at the beginning of the year, and then he came into the lineup and then went to Providence and never came back.
Yeah, he did. Heinen did the 12 games and didn't score any points, and then it was down for him.
So
Evander Kane is not in the locker room.
Good. There you go.
So doesn't look like he's playing. Supposedly he might be traded to San Jose, but anyways, keep going.
But he's done the reverse Heinen then. He's got injured at the beginning of the year, and then
Okay, do we all want to talk about the silver lining on this? Unfortunately for Anders Bjork, when his ECL enters, he's not going to cost us much money.
Right.
I'm sorry. I'm just going to throw that one out there.
Right.
Because we do. Anyways.
Because so many players, there's a lot of players that seem to be edging themselves out of a contract if they're going to cost too much in the next few years.
Yep.
Other than certain core players that you need to keep, but there'll definitely be some rookies that will probably be traded off in a couple of years. So,
speaking of creating cap space, this was going to happen regardless. But Paul Postma has been put on waivers after 12 games this season. He's got 1 point. He signed a 1-year deal on July 1st, 2017 for $775,000. So that creates a roster spot and a little bit of cap for anything to happen, whether trades happen or not. And wait a minute.
Hey, you got to see his dog, right?
Yeah, he did get to see his dog.
Also, Chris Breen was placed on waivers.
Yeah, we'll talk about that soon.
Okay.
Wait a minute. I think I hear Gary Bettman talking.
We have a trade to announce. I think you're going to want to hear this.
That's right, folks. Whether you like it or not, it's trade season. Yay! Lots of stuff going on in the past 24 hours. But not only that, this past week, and we're all going to start with the trade on the February 20th that sent Rabagara and the 2018 third-round pick to the New York Rangers for defenseman Nick Holden. In my honest opinion, I really didn't like this trade because of the third-round pick, and I know there's a lot of folks that don't believe that third-round pick is so significant at this point, but the reason why I got a little aggravated is because I think Holden and O'Gara could have gone 1-for-1. I don't understand why the third round was thrown in there for a leverage. That's the only thing that kind of confused me a little bit.
I'm guessing that... Sorry, Rob, go. You're right. Go.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I think that was kind of a sweetener for another deal that we'll get to. I think that was to build a relationship for another trade. I really do. I think they just needed to sweeten it up, try and get pieces in place for a different thing to happen. But to be honest, the third round pick, for me, at first I was a bit annoyed about it when I looked at the numbers for Holden and realising that he's going to be a seventh defenseman and not play that much. But then again, I looked at it and thought, it's probably, the 25th pick in the third round? And when I look back at what the Bruins have drafted from them kind of positions, it's not much. It really isn't. So.
No, and considering the trade that happened the next day kind of gave us a better pick. I also do think there's quite the possibility that given the trade marketing, unfortunately, even though Holden is a depth player, for some of the other teams, he might be one of their sixth defensemen. So I have a sinking feeling that a team like Toronto could have made a phone call and had Sweeney had to give up that pick. Yeah. And they might not have. Lou Lamoriello is not a dumb GM. He might not even really even wanted Holden, but another team could have drove up that price. That's just my thought, because the first rumors for it were technically it was a 1-for-1 deal, and then all of a sudden the pick got put in. So maybe another team jumped in. It's quite a possibility. Look what happened with the trade with Pittsburgh and Derek Brassard. The guy was going to Winnipeg, and then
they got pulled back.
Vegas didn't want him in their division, and they threw in and made it so the deal could happen and go to Pittsburgh.
Right.
So anything is possible, and then we can talk about the Vetrano trade. Great for him to go play for another team, but third round pick for a guy like him, that's fantastic.
And that just revamps or just kind of turns around what?
No, go on.
Oh, I thought you said something.
No, I didn't say anything.
So on February 22nd, Frank Vetrano gets moved to the Florida Panthers for the 2018 third-round pick from Florida. Now, that move I can completely agree with. Number one, it gives Frank Vetrano an opportunity to be a pro somewhere else, because I honestly don't think if he was going to stay in Boston, that was going to happen. So good luck to Frank. Great New England story. He did what he had to do. It just wasn't enough for the Bruins brass to keep him around. And regardless of everybody's opinion that they didn't give him a chance, I'm sorry. I hate to say this to you people, but he didn't give himself enough of an opportunity to sustain a roster spot this season or next season. Because I don't know for a fact, I can't say that, but it's pretty, it spelled out pretty well that the Bruins weren't going to retain him. So good for him. But that third round pick is now so much better because they moved down. I think the numbers that I heard was 20 spots because of where the Bruins could end up. I mean, if the Bruins win the Stanley Cup this year, they get the 31st pick.
Yeah.
So depending on where Florida ends up, if they don't make the playoffs, that's, you're talking maybe a 15th or a 16th pick at that time, which isn't bad. That's actually a hell of an upgrade.
Let's not poo-poo on Florida right now. They're surging.
Right. No, I agree.
They could be the dark horse if Toronto or Boston decide to start poo-pooing the rest of their season away. The Florida Panthers could make it.
And Florida is only 5 points out of a wild card spot right now. Which is the bottom wild card. The second wild card slot is held by the Columbus Blue Jackets right now. So you're right, absolutely. And Florida's 7-3. I'm sorry, I'm wicked blind.
That's okay. They're playing well.
7-3-0 in their last 10. So good for Frank. Hopefully he gets an opportunity there because. To me, the Florida Panthers are a kind of a team that's on the rebuild also. They've got a lot of young assets that they're willing to work with, so I think he can slot into their lineup pretty well and give them a little bit of little more speed.
So let's get to the piece de resistance.
And then the one that happened today, right? All right, well, anyway, this is how I read the whole thing. Last night, Elliot Friedman said that the Bruins were the contender for the Rick Nash. And then this morning, the news officially broke that the Boston Bruins have acquired Rick Nash in exchange for forward Ryan Spooner, forward Matt Bolesky, defenseman Ryan Lindgren, and 2018 first-round draft pick and a 2019 seventh-round draft pick. And the Rangers will retain half of Nash's remaining salary. While I'm running out of page here.
The Bruins
will retain,
half of Bolesky's salary.
Thank you.
Next.
Thank you for the.
Till it's over.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Rick Nash is a Boston Bruin, and I'll tell you one thing. That first round pick, I kind of think was a little much. I think a second would have done it, but whatever. The thing that I really like about this is it addresses the need on the right side and that heavy presence on the right side. So, but the thing about that first round pick that bothers me though is at this point right now, as we're talking, Rick Nash is a rental because he's a UFA. He's going to need to be re-signed. So. They did get rid of Bolesky's contract. I understand that, and people are loving that. And the Ryan Spooner deal, I'm not sure where he was going to fit in, but my thing is now all these contracts that have gotten off the books now, and coming up to this summer's off-season, builds for the next year. Do the Bruins have the funds available, or do they need to make more moves to get Rick Nash signed? Because I don't have my notes in front of me, but what's his salary?
$7.5 million.
Do they have the room for that for the next for another
he's not
2 or 3 years?
He is never going to sign another contract in his life that is worth that money.
Yeah, 7.8.
Okay.
Yeah, that guy's never signing another $7 million contract ever because the skills aren't there anymore.
All right,
and
so
unless he scores 30 goals from now to the end of the playoffs, not a chance.
Yeah, here's the way I look at it. He could say the perfect storm happens, we win the cup. You're Rick Nash. Do you take a discount to try and do it one more time?
Yep.
Exactly.
At his age, absolutely.
He knows Bergeron. He's played with him international. He's played with him overseas. They know each other. There could be something here, and we don't know about, that he could easily come back for $4 to $5 million a season.
I was thinking 5 on the high end.
Like the way I look at it, we all thought Pasta was going to get a huge deal. Pasta technically took, a very good deal to stay in Boston. A friend of the show, Colin Beswick, he wrote an article today. Did the Bruins pay too much for it? He put in stats and so on and so forth. The only glaring stat that scared me was from 2015 to now, Rick Nash has only scored 2 more points than Ryan Spooner. But the one thing it says to me about that, Rick Nash is also a different hockey player to me. Ryan Spooner isn't a game changer. To me, Rick Nash with the puck on his stick is one of those guys in the last 2 minutes you want him to have the puck. Are we all in agreement here?
Yeah.
I would never say that about Ryan Spooner.
No, Ryan Spooner would pass the puck.
If you were to pull the goalie and put an extra guy on the ice that's going to put the puck in the back of the net, I'd put Rick Nash out there.
Yeah, and
with that first line of Bergeron, Pasta, and Marshy, and Jesus Christ, if that puck doesn't go in the back of the net, it's hitting the post at least once.
And now look at Krejci. He's got 2 huge wingers. He's got DeBrusk with the speed. You can plant Rick Nash in front of the net. Rick Nash can change his game, just like David Backes did when he came here, and maybe take a page out of Backes and be that same sort of guy that can, put the puck in the net. But Rick Nash is going to put a lot more points on the board.
Yep.
Than the Backes, and he's got the great hands. This could change, and I've said it before. I used to compare Jake DeBrusk to Rick Nash. Now they're playing on the same darn line.
And guess who's going to teach Jake DeBrusk for the rest of the year, and maybe have another Rick Nash in his prime on our hands?
Yeah. And look at Krejci. Krejci gets to pass to the left to the right now. He can just be like, all right, let's see what happens. The Bruins now have, as much as everybody says it's an overpay, every team does this every year. And Colin did a great article, and I suggest everybody read it. He brings up the stats and what the difference are and how close they both are. But he does bring up the point, Rick Nash did play on a really bad Rangers team, and Spooner's playing on a really good Bruins team. But you never know until these players play, because there's a lot of players that play amazing with one team and play terrible here. But we've all seen Rick Nash play internationally. We've seen him play with different players. I don't see why this wouldn't be a great thing. It sends a great message to the locker room. It lets everybody know that we're here to win. If there was any doubts about breaking up the chemistry, the fact that he already knows Bergeron, some of those guys in that locker room, it helps right there. They wouldn't have done this deal if the leadership team didn't say, I'm sure they talked to these guys about it. Plus, now he adds to that leadership team.
Yeah.
Can I just...
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, can I just talk about the pieces that we sent to them as well?
Yeah.
Ryan Spooner's played himself out of his contract next year. I think he silently played too well to be re-signed. As Bolesky's cap dump, and I think basically you could have sent Spooner in a second-round pick, but the first-round pick kind of helps getting Bolesky off the books. Mm-hmm. And I think Lindgren is the extra bit on top that they needed to get it to push through. And I guarantee there are maybe 8 other teams that are in on were in on Rick Nash, because everyone was looking to add a guy like that. And I think the Bruins did a really good job, because Ryan Lindgren was probably around the middle of the pack defensive prospect-wise. I don't think he was an amazing, he's going to be a top 4 defenseman or top 2 defenseman. I think everyone realised that he was kind of a bottom 6, if anything, when he gets to the NHL, and if he gets to the NHL. But, I mean, I saw people going off about Ryan Lindgren, who I can pretty much guarantee they've never watched one of his games in their life. I saw someone say he's an elite shutdown defenseman. No, he's good. He's not elite right now, or else he'd be on the Bruins. So, it's just one of them things. You have to give up a hell of a lot to get rid of a contract nowadays, and I'm really glad that we don't have Bolesky's money on the books anymore.
Yeah, as he's playing in the AHL.
Yeah, and there was three more years on that contract.
And I guarantee you Sweeney did not want to trade Ryan Lindgren.
No,
because he was making. I don't think he did. I really don't think he did. He wanted to keep all these young kids. O'Gara, I think he was fine with.
Yeah,
because they knew what they were. They knew what they had with him. But I don't think he was made up his mind on Lindgren whether he was going to be a piece for this team or not.
Yeah. And coming up next year, signing Rick Nash for a contract, you've not got many players now with Ryan Spooner gone that you need to re-sign, especially coming off ELCs. Like, there's not really anyone that comes to mind that's going to take up big money.
And
Austin Zarnik is probably the only one-way contract.
And eventually Charlie McAvoy. We've still got to really think about
but that's contract. 2 years away. And if you sign Rick Nash to a 1 year, $5 million deal, it doesn't hurt anything.
Fair enough.
Like, you have the cap space there. You sign him for only a year, so you don't have to panic trade him 2 years down the line when you haven't got enough to sign a guy like McAvoy. And if you sign him to a $5 million deal next year, and then you say, look, if we don't make the playoffs, or if we look like we're not going to have a good run in the playoffs, you can trade him. And look what the Bruins paid for him this year. Why would you not spend $5 million on a guy like that to carry him through the year?
The cap is going up.
Yeah. Yep.
And I don't think Carlo's going to cost that much. As
a fringe top 4 guy, no, he can't do.
McAvoy will.
Oh, McAvoy will. I think you're looking at kind of the same thing they did with Pasternak.
Yes.
It's going to kind of either be a bridge deal up until the time that he's 22, and then
Sweeney doesn't look like a bridge deal type of guy.
No, he's more like long term.
Yeah, he likes to lock guys
deal
up.
with in depth and so on.
Yeah.
I just want to go back to what Court was saying about Colin Bestwick's article. You can read that on Twitter at Cup of Chowder or StanleyCupofChowder.com. I believe that's the website. Yeah. Fantastic thing. I just want to go back on myself on the Rick Nash deal and kind of compare about what I can see in the future with him being matched up with Krejci on the second line. I know there's a lot of people...
And it's confirmed. I just read it's confirmed he's on the second line today.
Okay, there's a lot of people out there that read into it and said that Pasternak could be slotted down and Nash on the top line. Why mess with the best chemistry? Why mess with the best line in hockey right now? I wouldn't want to do it. But bringing him to the second line also brings in some history for me, anyway. When you think of where Krejci played with Milan Lucic and Nathan Horton. Now it's pretty much you can see a lot of that in Jake DeBrusk and now Rick Nash. So I think this is a great move for Sweeney. I mean for Krejci and the rest of this season at least, and hopefully, if the Bruins do re-sign Rick Nash, I mean this could really evaluate David Krejci's career. I mean he's been a decent player. I'm not going to crap on him. I like the guy. I like the way he plays the game and so on, even though he's not an 80 or 90 point guy anymore or never was. But I just like the way that the chemistry that him and Horton and Lucic had back in the day, and I can almost see that with DeBrusk and Nash now. So,
and if they hit it off, you're Sweeney, you want to sign him.
Yeah. I mean,
Does Rick Nash score in his debut? Because I've been thinking all day that he's going to score tonight.
If he does, I'm going to have a proud moment and get up and kind of scream a little bit. And from what I'm hearing on Twitter, I'm not sure if it's official yet. Colt, you might have a little more knowledge about this. Is Rick Nash going to start tonight in Buffalo?
100% on the right side with David Krejci.
Nice.
He's already there. He's doing press conferences. What I'm reading, He's 100%. They were trying to get Giunta in the building, not to play, but just get him in the building.
And perfect seg.
Sorry.
No.
I was just going to say, can you imagine Riley Nash walking into the locker room, sitting down, putting on what he thinks is his gear, and then going, "Why the hell is this 2 sizes too big?" Oh yeah, there's another Nash in the building now.
What's funny is we had the Buster dog this weekend because it was his 8th birthday, and I love that little bastard. He's my best friend. He's a Boston Terrier. He turned 8 yesterday. So, but we were sitting there talking. Me and Courtney were talking about the trade, and she all of a sudden goes, "Wait a minute, now there's 2 Nashes going to be on the team," and I said, "Yeah, they're both first letters in name R."
All right.
So
they're both wearing Nash. It's been officially confirmed.
Yeah.
They're just going to wear Nash.
So all right,
Nash,
so
Rick Nash is wearing the number 61, the same as he's always worn.
right.
Which is pretty good. We didn't say Holden is now Holdenberg, seeing he's wearing Seidenberg's 44.
That was awesome, Rob.
I'm going to refer to him as Holdenberg from now on.
And
I think he gets a start soon.
Yeah.
I really do. I think they want to see what he's like in the lineup. From what Court was saying today, which I really agreed with, but didn't have time to tweet him back. Guys like Carlo and guys like Grizzly need a couple of games off and just sit down, chill out, and rest because they're starting to make mistakes.
Yeah, someone was saying to me, "Well, you're bashing Carlo, and you never do that." I'm probably one of the biggest Carlo supporters there are, but the expression I was sitting so close to that game. I was looking at the expressions on their face on the bench, and I know, and I've said this before. A lot of people have blinders on Grizzly. I think he's a fantastic defenseman. He's got a great future with this hockey club. But he makes some mistakes and people don't even notice. And Carlo makes the littlest mistake and people notice. When Carlo made the gaff and fell on his face, I knew he wasn't coming back out there. He went around the corner. He got off the bench and he came back and he wasn't coming back. I think he was taken off the bench to get an earful. And he just sat there and the look on his face was of devastation. The only reason he got to come back out there was because Chara got that penalty and they need him for penalty kill. And that's what I keep telling people. Like, you read Twitter right now, they're all like, "Oh, is Carlo not playing?" You know what, people? Carlo might sit for a couple games, but he is needed for penalty kill.
Yeah.
He is a very good up-and-coming defensive defenseman. He's not going to score goals, but he is a way better option than Adam McQuaid, people.
And you know what kills me about this whole defensive thing and nitpicking is people they attack Carlo when he makes a simple mistake. Well, this is the same reason why I attack a person and a player like Adam McQuaid when he makes a mistake. You know, people just have the McQuaid blinders on because he's a tough guy and he's
pretty.
Yeah, you know what I mean. He's a big hunk of man that a lot of people just love looking at. But you know what? There's more to the game than that. I understand. You know, I'm not trying to. You know, trying to not. Oh, my God, I can't even talk, but...
It's all right. Well, Rob, what do you think of Grizzly? Like, I know he can... From what I saw, I'll say this. He has a great first pass, but I kid you not, people, when he had that shot and everybody thought he was going to score, he looked so scared. Yeah. When he was coming in, he looked like he was about to get his head taken off, and he thought it was going to happen. I don't think he's strong enough in the playoffs. I think in the playoffs he'll be scary.
I just think the Bruins need to rest that guy. He's done above and beyond what he was called up to do. He was meant to be up here for a few games, and he played that well that they had to keep hold of him. I'd rest him. I'd put Holden in there, see what you got with Holden for maybe 2 games, because it looks like they're not wanting to play him on the right-hand side. Otherwise, I think he would have got the start over McQuaid the other night. But I honestly think him and Carlo need maybe 2 games. Look at what it did for DeBrusque earlier this season.
Yeah,
great example.
Yeah,
they just need to sit him down and go, right, you watch, like, say to Grizzly, you watch Krug. Watch what Krug does. Watch what Chara does on the left-hand side. And you need to have your eyes on that patch of ice at all times and learn what you need to do. And then the same thing for Carlo. Just tell him to watch anyone. I mean, sometimes he looks lost out there. Sometimes he looks like the best defenseman on the ice out there. I honestly think they're tired. The young kids playing way too much ice time for what they are.
He seemed to be the only one, Carlo, last night that could control JVR. And when JVR didn't have Carlo out there, he sat in front of that net like he was cherry picking. It was driving me nuts.
Yeah,
but it's a weird thing because you when I was watching the game, I was looking for different things. And I'm like, all right, yeah, you know what? I'll finally admit that Carlo might need to just take a breather, sit back, reset himself. But then I was watching Grzelcyk, and I'm like, he needs it too. Like, we got a lot of defensive depth. These guys, someone alluded to it on Twitter today. I think it was Matt Kalman when he said that you could have McQuaid and Holden as your third pairing in the playoffs.
Right.
But I'll say this, in that Toronto game, Kevin Miller was the best defenseman on our team on the ice.
Did you see him?
He was the only reason. He was amazing.
Was he down in your area when he was pinching down low and like protecting the puck, killing? Yeah. Oh, that was just. I couldn't believe his hands for a big guy that is known for basically shut down defensive style. He really played along the boards. It literally went all around the boards, fighting off defenders. And kept it in the zone. I believe the Bruins even had a change while he did that.
Well, when Carlo was benched, Miller never got off the ice.
Right.
Him and Chara, it was like a rotation of the double shifters were him and Chara. They're just rotating.
Right.
It's kind of weird. Yeah, and he was phenomenal. I was talking when I made my tweet today about Grizz sitting. I knew I was going to get jumped. I was going to get all the people that bash Carlo going, yay. And I'm like, actually, I don't hate him. Yeah. But the Grzelcyk crowd came out of nowhere on me, and I'm like, they were like, oh, he was this, he was +2, or he was +1. I was like, yeah, that was Kevin Miller.
Yeah. The thing
Kevin Miller was phenomenal.
With Grizz, I honestly think he could turn into what Krug has done and be that guy who can step up into the top 4 occasionally. Yep. But, I mean, like I said, these are 20-year-old kids who need some time to breathe and rest and recuperate.
Yep.
And not every player on the ice is Bergeron. They can't play through pain and play through everything. Some guys need rest. And when we're this far up the standings, this is when you need to start having time off. Otherwise, you're going to get to the point where you can't let players have time off and wear them out for the playoffs. And it should be more like the NBA and the MLB and everything, where they rest guys for the playoffs. When you're in a place where you can do, why not? And just see what you've got with the other guys. And moving on to our other segment, which is another guy that I really like that the Bruins have just signed today.
Yeah, segue into a topic of much rest. This player has been resting all season. Has not played one NHL game at all this year, but was a participant in the United States hockey team at the Olympics. Today, Don Sweeney announced that the Bruins signed Brian Gianza to a 1-year, one-way contract worth $700,000. Rob, you can have this one.
Yeah, seriously, I don't want to speak negatively, so I'll let you go.
I think this is the perfect thing. You've got youth on your team, guys that are called undersized forwards. What better person to bring in as an undersized forward as this guy? He's a legend. I think he's a really good player. I think he's going to bring...
Legend.
You name, Marty St. Louis is the other undersized forward of this generation. Who else?
Of this generation, sure.
Patrick Elias.
Yeah, exactly. Them three are very similar players.
Well, according to some fans of this team, Torrey Krug.
Yeah,
exactly. And the Bruins are doing the whole let's get guys who have been captains in other teams and load up on guys who can teach and be out there and just lead by example. And
the leadership is amazing. You're right.
He is going to be on the top floor with 2 defensemen because the Bruins are carrying... Oh, no, they're only carrying 7 now, aren't they? So he's going to be up there with either Adam McQuaid, Matt Grzelcyk, Kevin Miller, Brandon Carlo, and just leadership. Lead by example. Go in there in the changing rooms after the first and second period and lead by example. That's a great guy to have. And I think people are going, oh my God, you signed this guy to a contract, $700,000. It doesn't matter. It's pennies to the pound on like what you're getting for what you're paying. And if the Bruins have the cap space right now, which they do because they still have $3 million, I think, just why not pay for a guy like that?
Yeah, his leadership is unspoken. I mean, he's been around the league for a long time, and I just think that his Boston College days really got him more involved in this deal, that he knows the area. He's been around for a while. It's depth. If something happens to anybody, and I'm not saying, and a lot of people kind of reached out to me and said it was this move because of what happened to Patrice Bergeron last night. I don't believe so. I don't think there's any tie to that at all.
No, because there was rumors before the game about this.
Yeah.
There was rumors like halfway through the Olympics about this. This has been going on.
And then someone, I think Pierre LeBrun tweeted it yesterday, I think, pretty much saying he was going to Boston. And then Elliot Friedman and Bob McKenzie made the joke about Nash going to Boston, and then pretty much said he was going to Boston.
It's so funny how people react to guys like if they'd have gone, right, we're going to sign this guy to a $10 million contract till the end of the season because we can just fit it in. Okay, that's a bad move, but signing him to this deal and getting him in, you've made a third-round pick off the Toronto, replaced him with a guy who can do exactly the same job as him and more.
They got him for, what was the contract for Giunta?
$700,000.
One year, one way.
Chris Kelly just signed $1.25 million with Anaheim. You know what, Sweeney? You're a genius.
Yeah, exactly.
Genius.
Sorry.
I can't even say that.
Sweenius.
Sweenius. Yeah. I did it. All right.
So Bergeron is a game-time decision as per Cassidy.
Nice.
He has redeemed himself completely this season for anything he has done in the past. I'm sorry. But
I think he's redeemed himself with his drafting as well.
Oh, yeah.
McQuaid in, Carlo out tonight.
Ha-ha.
Huh. That is interesting. Wow. Kind of called that.
Yeah, I figured it had to happen.
And against a team that doesn't have Evander Kane, who's the guy who goes to the front of the net, which means you can replace it with McQuaid.
All right, so let me ask.
Look at us breaking news, eh?
I know, that's awesome.
Well, not really breaking it, as the show comes out tomorrow.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to try to get it out today as much as possible. But
you can listen to it during the game. Alternate commentary. So,
as we do kind of wind down to the end of the show, boy, the hour went fast, and it always does. The trade deadline's tomorrow, Monday, at 3 p.m. Is this it? Is this it for Don Sweeney and the Boston Bruins making moves before this trade deadline, or do you see another move coming through?
I think there's another move coming through. Otherwise, why would they put Paul Postma on waivers if they could carry him?
Now, you don't think that Paul Postma going on waivers creates a roster spot for Brian Giunta?
No, because they were carrying Frank Vetrano and 8 defense. So can't they carry 8 D-men and 1 extra forward?
Yeah, it's a 23-man roster.
You can carry 3 extra players, can't you?
Yes.
Yeah, but isn't the trade of Bolesky having Providence need a player?
Yeah, but Postma is not going to play forward.
I know, but
it's still 23-man.
You don't want to have 500 defensemen.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but as well, with O'Gara going to New York, Providence had to sign a guy to a PTO to play there. But
O'Gara, the Holden deal, when he came in, we didn't do anything. Yeah. We didn't send anybody down and do anything, and then we did all these trades. I think it's just because the amount of defensemen we have. It's just, I don't know. To be honest, I don't think a thing happens with Boston tomorrow.
All right.
I think he's done. After having to trade Lindgren, I think he's done. He doesn't want to trade anymore. Unless he can trade without really trading. You know what I mean? Get like a Stafford deal, or how we got him for nothing. Then otherwise, I think he's done.
They have 2 5th-round picks. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
I think something could be done with that, but does Brian Giunta cancel that out, or do they look at another guy that went to the Olympics?
And here's another scenario about the 23-man roster and spots available is defenseman Chris Breen, we forgot to mention earlier, signed a two-way, 1-year deal with the Boston Bruins and was immediately put on waivers with the intent of him going back to Providence.
Now, there is the rumor, and it caught more fire yesterday when somebody said he might be coming here, and I know you don't want to talk about it, Mark, but Ryan Donato. I know you disagree. I know you disagree. I know you disagree.
We're going to touch on this now because you brought it up. You opened the can of worms. Listen, here it is. Ryan Donato is a very, very great player. He's a young talent. He's going to he is going to have a great future in Boston. I don't think the time is now. I'm always about who got you here, regardless of the Nash trade. I mean, people can hammer me for that. Well, Nash is a new guy. Well, no. He's got experience. Ryan Donato does not have NHL experience. So, and therefore, I don't think that he belongs on this team this year. Believe in the fact that the guys that got you this point, the guys played, they got a 37-14-8 record this season with a huge core of players that they believed in, continue to believe in that. Let's have Ryan Donato sign over the summer and start fresh. This is the same thing that we went through with Anders Bjork last year. Everybody was like, sign him, let's get him, sign him, let's get him in the roster, blah, 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 blah.
I still
and look what happened. Look what happened. He started the next year. So I totally believe you, Court, that he...
I'm just reading what people tweet.
Right. He could be signed, and that's awesome. That'd be great. I just don't think that his addition is needed this year at this level, especially in the playoffs. You know what I mean? It's just kind of...
I know for a fact that his dad said he was finishing off the season with
right, and
Harvard.
That ends tonight.
Yeah,
the season's over tonight. But plus, they're they could be in the playoffs too, the ECAC playoffs. So, you could definitely see him in early March.
Do they wait until the playoffs? And if a forward goes down and you put Giunta in, do you then sign Donato as a backup?
All right, so now, Rob, what you're doing is you're playing the scenario that the Bruins did with Charlie McAvoy last year.
Yeah, exactly.
And
then do you bring Donato in? Because don't forget, if he signs and plays this season, he loses a year of his ELC.
Right.
Like if he goes onto the Bruins roster, which adds another guy who in 2 years needs to be re-signed.
Exactly.
Which is the same year as, I think it's Danton Heinen, Charlie McAvoy. Is Brandon Carlo the same year, or is that the year before?
I believe the same. I could be wrong.
So you've got 5 top-tier guys, because you've also got Jake DeBrusk, because he played a year in the AHL. You have Ryan Donato, Charlie McAvoy, Brandon Carlo, Danton Heinen, and Jake DeBrusk, all to sign in one week.
Yep.
That's a lot of money to throw around. To be honest, I'd rather leave him. I mean, he can play in the AHL and still not take a year off his ELC.
Exactly.
I'm fine with that. If he wants to sign after this and come to the AHL, perfect.
Yep. But for me, the McAvoy thing was the Bruins were beat up. They were injured. He was kind of pushed into that role, which I thought he did great as a young defenseman.
I think it's an understatement. He did fantastic. He was our best defenseman.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. But this year, we seem to be very healthy. So I don't get the need or the urge to, it's like Court always says, it's that new shiny toy that everybody loves. They want to see it as soon as possible, but then they'll be the first people to trash it when he doesn't play well.
Just like everybody wanted the Bruins to do a trade, and then as soon as they did one today, everybody lost their mind. They gave too much. People were losing their mind off the Holden deal. Then people were losing their mind off the Nash deal. I'm just like, Imagine Sweeney did nothing. They'd be like, fire.
Yeah. Before
you can only win over a certain percentage of the crowd, not the whole crowd.
Yeah.
Like, you can't please everyone. It's never going to happen.
If I'm not mistaken,
I honestly think that Ryan Donato is going to sign at the end of this season, possibly play as the first line center in Providence next season, and then you sign Austin Zornick to a 1-year deal and see what he does in the NHL.
Not a bad
Austin
scenario.
Zornick is an RFA.
I have no doubt in my mind Ryan Donato's on this roster next year.
Oh yeah. I'm with you. I'm totally there. We won't have if Rick Nash signs, we won't have the double Nash problem. No offense, Riley Nash. He's been phenomenal. Donato will be there next year. Right. Yeah, I can agree with that. All right. I think that's, if anybody else has got anything else on this trade thing, bring it up now. Forever hold your peace. We good?
No.
Awesome. Just to mention, we do have some limited time merchandise on the blackandgoldhockey.com website. We have a hoodie. It's an alternate. We have a T-shirt that's an alternate. Kind of almost like what the Bruins do. They have their whites, their blacks. Well, we're doing the same. So go check them out. Buy it up. Real cheap. Support the show. Support the show by sharing this podcast with your fellow listeners. We definitely appreciate that. And check us out on any podcatcher out there that you can. We appreciate any and all support. Thank you for listening, Court. Rob, thank you for your time today. It's going to be a great week, I believe, starting off with Rick Nash's first game tonight. And we'll have a lot to talk about hopefully next week, and hopefully a lot more positive things to talk about. This was a good show, and we covered a lot. I mean, I just didn't think that all these trades would happen at all, because in the past couple of years that this team has only traded probably 1 or 3 players in 2 or 3 years. So,
and next week will be my last show for a bit because I'll be in Boston.
That's right.
All right.
He's coming to my home. He's coming to my hometown. So we'll have to figure something out. So, regardless, thank you very much for listening. Thanks for the time, and go Bruins.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's show. You can follow the guys on Twitter at blackandgold277, at Court Lalonde, and at Rob40Bruins. You can also send us an email to the show's account at blackandgoldhockeyblog@gmail.com.